YouTube, what's up? Riz here with another NFL Draft podcast, and I'm talking corners today, cornerbacks. And I'm just going to go ahead and say it. I think this is the best NFL Draft DB class I've ever seen that I can remember. As a DBs, safeties, and corners, it's ridiculous, absolutely stacked. Um, there's no elite guy, like a guaranteed elite guy for corners, but there's so many guys that can be a starter day one, and there's plenty of elite safeties. So as a DB unit draft class, it is very, very good. One of the best that I can remember. Um, Definitely the best that I've covered personally. So very excited to cover these corners today. Not going to cover the safeties yet, just the corners. There's a lot to talk about with the corners. Um, I got a mock draft coming, updated mock draft coming tomorrow. So stay tuned for that. Senior Bowl coverage this week. So we're going to talk about that, more podcast stuff like that. Going to be more and more involved in this, more and more content on the draft coming out as we get closer to stuff like the Senior Bowl and the Combine, and then eventually the draft. So stay tuned for all that. Let's get into these corners. I'm going to go no particular order. I'm just going to go down the list on these corners, talk about strengths and weaknesses. First guy, Marshon Lattimore, corner from Ohio State. Seems to be the favorite right now around the league, and experts seems to be the favorite. This guy's obviously a good corner, played for a good team, good defense, Ohio State. His breaks on the ball are just fantastic. Great breaks on the ball. Coming into the ball, making a play, getting his hand in there, getting picks, does it all. Just really all over the place. There's not too many like big weaknesses for him. There is one concern, just playing press up at the line, just jamming guys, stuff like that. Didn't really do it much. So we don't really know if he can do it well at the next level. You don't really expect him to do it at a high level in the NFL. So that's a concern. Downfield, he's never really beat. He's always there, but his play for the ball, his attempt at going for the ball, sometimes he doesn't leave the ground. He's got long arms. He can make the play, and he does make the play, but going against an NFL receiver, like a Pro Bowl receiver, is he gonna be able to make the same plays? He's gonna need to jump up and go get the ball at his highest point, which he doesn't really do all the time, but still made plays. So there's some weaknesses for him. Overall, great corner. Is he my number one? He's definitely in the discussion. Not really sure yet. This is the hardest thing to rank is corners. I would say corners and then receivers in this draft class are very hard. Running backs are up there too. We talk about running backs and receivers yet. Didn't give my rankings, but corners and receivers are very hard to rank. They're so close. A lot of guys so close to each other. But on to the next guy, Teez Tabor, popular guy from Florida. Good size guy. He doesn't really play like a big corner, though. I mean, he's not really big. He's 6 foot, but he doesn't really play like that. He kind of plays like a nickel corner sometimes. Well, he doesn't really play nickel at Florida, but he looks like he may be a nickel corner in the next level. Strengths, he's very good at covering close routes, short routes. He attacks the ball. He's going to make sure that you're not going to catch the ball. He wants the ball in his hands, actually. Really good buzz in the feet, really good breaking on the ball, kind of like Lattimore. Very good attacking the ball on short routes like curls, stuff like that. Very good at that. Weaknesses, you can fool him. Not really trick plays, but if you sneak a guy late in his zone or his area of the field, he can be beat. Let the guy behind him. If the guy is behind him, his play to get downfield while the ball's in the air isn't the greatest. Not bad at all. He's definitely a good corner, but I'm just pointing out some weaknesses. Like I said, maybe a nickel corner. Could be a damn good nickel corner, but I don't think teams will have a guy like that at the top. He's definitely a first-round talent, but I don't see him being anybody's number one corner. I've seen some experts say that he is their number one corner, not too many, but he's all over the place, good player. But some downfield concerns, still good downfield. I'm just trying to point out some weaknesses to separate these guys. Next guy, Marlon Humphrey from Alabama, was talked about number one corner for a little bit, kind of sliding down a little bit. We see him play against big-time receivers like Mike Williams. He gets beat, but he's not completely burned. Like, he was always there. Just Mike Williams shows that he is the better athlete, better player. Strengths Humphrey, he is all over the place. He's got a high motor. He wants to play. He's not afraid to come up and hit you. He can read short routes, short screen passes, jet sweeps. He can read them, come up and make the tackle, no problem. So he wants to play, high motor. Weaknesses is guys will get behind him. They're not going to just completely torch him, but guys will get behind him. So that is a concern. But overall, first round talent again. Next guy, Sidney Jones. Another guy. This guy's not going to let you catch the ball. He's going to do what he can to not let you catch the ball. He's very athletic, very good reach. Ball's in the air, he's going for it. He's making sure you don't catch it. He's really never beat. Big thing for me is teams feared Sidney Jones. They threw away from him after they realized he was good. After he's a lockdown corner and can get picks, so a lot of teams feared him. That's a big positive for me. Weaknesses, there really isn't any big weaknesses for Sidney Jones. The main one from around the league is he weighs 180 pounds, so he's got a smaller frame, 6 foot though. It's not too much of a concern for me as a corner. He 180 pounds. I mean, I'm sure he can gain weight too if that's what they want from him. It's not that big of a weakness. Another weakness really isn't much of a weakness is he doesn't really want. He did show times he didn't really want to be involved in tackles that he could have been involved. They're not really his job to be involved, but he didn't really want to be involved. He can tackle. That's the thing. He can tackle, but he didn't really show that he can run up and be. He didn't really want to be a part of the tackle at times. So that, I mean, it's a small weakness because he showed he can tackle. He can wrap up and has good form. So really not that many weaknesses for Sidney Jones. Really like his play. Next guy, Desmond King. Some people consider him a safety. I say he's a corner. People concerned about his man coverage. 5'10". A lot of these corners are 6 foot 6'1", so 5'10". Is that too short? I mean, I don't think so. Not that long ago, all corners were about that size. Now we're starting to get bigger. So I know there's a head coach that is a DB-minded guy that I know of in the league that says his minimum height is 5'10". So he is 5'10", but that can't be really a good thing if that's your minimum. So that's a risk for him. Good, he's similar to Tabor to me. Really attacks the ball. Short routes, curl routes. He really knows how to jump them. He seems like he knows the play a lot. 2 years ago, he led the NCAA in interceptions. So if you get, I think it was like 8 interceptions. If you get that many interceptions, you're a good player. So I mean, he definitely can make a tackle too. Good returner as well. But as a corner, good overall player. Is he gonna be okay in man coverage? Teams concerned about that. I think he's a first-round talent. I think he can easily slide to second, though, just because teams are concerned on what he's going to be able to do for them. Down to Tredavious White, LSU, a guy that's on the rise. People saying most improved out of the group. That's a good thing. That's a very good thing. It's usually the guys that really show improvement, clear improvement, every year as they get older, I guess, and further on in their career in college. Those guys end up being good in the NFL. So that's a very good thing. Always there to make a play, tighten coverage. Big negative for Tredavious White is he uses his hands a lot. He will hold you. He will grab you. Got away with a lot at LSU. I don't think he gets away with a lot of those in the NFL. So is he going to cost your team with holding and pass interferences? I can see it. I can definitely see it. Good player, though. A ton of pass breakups. Good thing there. Ton of pass breakups this last year. So he's moving up boards. Maybe not as high. I'm not as high on him as most experts, but it's pretty close. Cordrea Tankersley from Clemson. Good size guy, 6 foot 200. Good size. Playmaker. Showed he makes plays at Clemson the last 2 years. So obviously he's a good player. Is he a first-round talent? I may have him early second. I have a big weakness for him. He will let guys behind him, and then after guys get behind him, he kind of loses a little confidence. He'll play back a little bit, and then guys just curl route, back shoulder in front of him, and he's got too much of a cushion, and he's got to know that has too much of a cushion. I don't know if he's losing confidence in himself because he let somebody behind him, but we've seen it against some of these ACC teams, seen it against Virginia Tech, ACC championship, even though he makes the last interception pretty much to seal the deal in that game. So definitely a playmaker, just a little weakness there, more of a little weakness, but it kind of scares me a little bit. So good player. I'm saying second round for him. Another guy, Conley, another Ohio State guy. This is a guy that's not going to wow you with anything, no crazy positives, but he has no crazy negatives. I mean, he had 4 interceptions this last year. That's a good amount of interceptions. Pretty close in coverage, ain't going to get beat too bad at times. Weaknesses, he will use his hands. He'll use his hands. He'll try to hold you. Not as bad as, not the worst of the group in maybe pass interference or holding calls that he might not get away with in the NFL, but he's up there. So really nothing crazy for positives or negatives for this guy. Could be a solid lockdown corner. I'm thinking he could sneak up to late first. I'm thinking early second, but still a long time to go. Another guy, Cameron Sutton. There's just a million corners here. Cameron Sutton from Tennessee. Guy that I think is underrated. A guy that I like. Injury concern there. He got hurt this last year and then came back. Wasn't that good. Was it because of the injury? Probably should have just sat out, to be honest. So that hurt him a little bit. But he isn't the best downfield guy. Another guy like Tabor, kind of. He isn't the best downfield coverage. He's still good. But he's good short routes, and he'll run up and hit you. He seems like he reads the play. He'll run up and hit you on a screen pass, on a run on the outside. He ain't afraid to hit you. I mean, there's not too many weaknesses about him, just the injury concern and his ability to cover the deep ball, which is it's still good. It's still good, just like compared to a Sidney Jones or a Marshon Lattimore. He's not as good as those guys at deep downfield throws, but he's always there. Doesn't really get burned too bad. So it's kind of an underrated guy. Everybody's saying like second or third round, mainly second round. But I think if it wasn't for his injury, we'd be talking first round for Cam Sutton. Jordan Lewis from Michigan, another guy, didn't let up too many catches on him. Very good lockdown corner. 5'10", 186. That's the negative, I guess. That's really not a problem for me. He did let guys behind him at times. He still made a play on the ball, but did let guys behind him. Is he going to be able to do that against better receivers, better quarterbacks in the NFL? So that's a very big concern for me. He's just better at another guy that's better at the short routes. He's definitely going to be a nickel. He could be a starting nickel right away. So you can't really consider him at the top if he's just this really good nickel. Nickel corners don't go high in the draft. But solid corner, great career at Michigan. Quincy Wilson. Should have talked about Quincy Wilson already because he's considered at the top. Good-sized guy, 6', 209. His potential is through the roof, is what teams in the NFL think. He's probably not the best corner today in the draft, but his potential can be the best. That's the thing with him. So he possibly could be the first corner off the board. Another guy that's all over the place, wants to get to that ball, wants to make sure nobody catches the ball. Just a high motor guy, all over the place. He gets picks, does that. He can play zone just as well as he can play man. Just does everything you ask him. A weakness for me, it's a pretty big weakness for him. He has such a good upside, so many good positives I just read off, but his weakness is his technique. His technique is not there. His technique, he got away with it in college. Is he going to get away with it? I mean, he was in the SEC, so I mean, he gets the job done doing what he's doing, but is that technique in the NFL going to slow him down? Like his hips, opening the hips, running back, it's all not there. If he plays a really good receiver, really good quarterback, I think it might show. Another guy that'll use his hands, he'll grab a little bit. Sometimes what I mean by technique is a receiver will run up to him, and the first thing he wants to do before opening up his hips is grab the guy and then just run with him while trying to grab him. So that shows at times, and it's definitely something you can fix. And I think that's why teams think he has the best potential. If he fixes that, he's definitely the best corner. Fixes that technique, he's the best corner in this draft. So big upside, and then big negatives there. Another guy, Dory Jackson. Anybody that's talking about him as a corner in a first-round talent, I think, is just completely wrong. That's mind-blowing to me. Hell of an athlete. But as a corner, compared to the guys I already talked about, he gets beat way more downfield. Like I talk about guys like Marlon Humphrey, let guys behind him, but he's right there to make the play. Like he's in the area. Like Dory Jackson will just get completely torched at times, but at times he shows he has the potential. You know, he was a 5-star guy, rated really high coming to college, so he does have that potential. He's playing against like Pac-12 high-power offenses. So I think if he goes to the right DB guru team, I think he can end up being really good at corner. He's just far from it, very raw. I think he needs to go to the right team. He's not a first-round corner. Is he a first-round athlete? Possibly, but I don't know if you take a guy in the first round just because he's an athlete. So Adoree Jackson, ton of potential, but very, very raw. Not a first-round corner. Awuzie from Colorado, very inconsistent guy at times. He looks like he can be a first-round talent at times. It looks like he's going to go late round. So very inconsistent. Overall, good player. Rasul Douglas from West Virginia, at the top of the nation in interceptions. If a guy gets that many interceptions, obviously he can play. Does get beat at times, though. But a lot of those guys that get interceptions, they either get interceptions, they get beat. It's their style of play. It's their strategy. Kind of get a little cushion going so you can possibly get a pick. That's his style. So underrated guy, maybe just a little bit of sleeper, but can get beat. Fabian Moreau from UCLA. All of a sudden, he's the talk. He's the guy everybody's talking about. A lot of guys saying second round, but then you got Mike Mayock, who I really like as a draft expert. And if there's a position that he knows the most, it's defensive backs. He's saying he doesn't get out of the first round. Fabian Moreau from UCLA. He does not get out of the first round according to Mike Mayock. And to me, I don't have him as a first rounder. Good sized guy, 6 foot, 205, can tackle. Definitely knows how to tackle. Very good at man coverage. That's very popular. Not that many guys that are this good at man coverage. But the production, the negative is his production wasn't always there. Like compared to other guys, Sidney Jones, Teez Tabor, Desmond King, those guys getting picks like crazy. His production always wasn't there. But, I mean, if he can be to me, I really like lockdown guys. But it's hard to tell, college, the NFL, if it's going to be a lockdown guy or not. So he has that potential to be one of those guys. So I guess we should not be surprised if this guy goes late first, early second. I'm not as high on him as experts, but I still think he's a hell of a corner. Like I said, possibly one of those lockdown guys. So he's on the rise. Kevin King from Washington, 6'3" guy. So the guys are going to like the coaches, scouts, GMs. They're going to love that 6'3". Problem with him is tackling is very poor. Playing at Washington, Sidney Jones was the better corner. Team stayed away from him, tried to throw on Kevin King. So a guy that has some negatives but a ton of potential. 6'3" guy. If he gets the right DB-minded coach, can teach him the technique, can teach him to tackle, he could end up being really good. Good size already. So I think guys are going to, I don't want to say overdraft him because I kind of like him. I kind of like him for his size, but they might overdraft him a little bit just because of his size. But has potential. Needs a lot of work, though. Howard Wilson's a sleeper for me from Houston. Played good last year. Great again this year. People talking fourth round. I think he could be better than that. Good player from Houston. William Jackson's partner from last year. Corn Elder from Miami. Everything's right about him. Technique, everything. He's 5'10", 175. That's your big weakness. We talked about some of those other smaller guys. He actually is more underweight than they are. Not really too much of a concern for me, but again, is he a nickel corner worth taking high? And if it is, there's a couple more that are probably better than him, but Corn Elder is a good sleeper. I mean, there's plenty other guys to talk about, but went over the main ones. Really like the corner class. After talking about all strengths and weaknesses, I'm kind of in my head coming up with who do I like the best. I kind of had a feeling before this, but I really like Sidney Jones from Washington. Really like him. A lot of upside, not too much negatives for him. Obviously, Marshon Lattimore is the favorite, so he's got to be up there. Quincy Wilson, with his potential, has to be up there. To me, those got to be the top three guys. We've seen other guys discussed in the top three like that are different than those guys, but for me, as of now, things definitely can change. I like Sidney Jones, Lattimore, and Quincy Wilson at the top probably. Even though Quincy Wilson has some good negatives, there's just so much potential there, and he's like, he wants to play. He wants to play. High motor guy. Really like that about him. So he's probably going to sneak up there. I think Sidney Jones will be a good value pick come draft day. He's probably my favorite corner as of now. I think he'll drop a little bit because of his size, and somebody should be able to steal him mid to late first round. but still a long way to go. Combine's actually, I don't really move my guys around too much based on the combine, but since it's so tight, corners, like I said, receivers, running backs, that the combine numbers are going to matter. I usually don't change. Like, guys, I think, overreact from combine numbers, and I just usually disagree with that. But this year, since they're so close, that it's going to matter. So, Senior Bowl workout, Senior Bowl game, practices are more important than the game for this situation. You got the combine coming up. Very important to see who's the better guy, who ranks where, especially for me this year. Mock draft coming tomorrow, more podcasts. Stay tuned for that. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed and want more. That'll do it. Goodbye.